For words changed the entire story of Ferrari's Dutch Grand Prix. "I'm quicker than Charles." Lewis Hamilton didn't ask Ferrari to let him through. He didn't complain about the car. He simply told his team what he believed was obvious. He was faster, his tires were better, and every second behind Charles Leclerc was costing him. What happened next turned a normal strategy call into something much bigger. Ferrari hesitated. Leclerc stayed ahead. Hamilton kept losing time. And eventually, the 7-time world champion asked a question that made the entire paddock pay attention. "Are you using me as a guinea pig or what?" That wasn't just frustration. That was Hamilton openly questioning whether Ferrari actually had a plan for him. And with Monza coming next, that could be far more important than the 4th-place finish he took home from Zandvoort. Let's go back to the moment this started. The Dutch Grand Prix was already chaotic before Ferrari's problems appeared. Max Verstappen crashed on the opening lap at his home race after losing the rear of his Red Bull on the damp surface, and the red flag that followed completely reshuffled the race. When the action resumed, Lando Norris eventually took control and went on to win, while Kimi Antonelli finished second. But Ferrari had something those results don't show: pace. Hamilton had genuine speed. Leclerc had genuine speed. And Ferrari had an opportunity to fight much closer to the podium. Instead, Hamilton finished 4th and Leclerc finished 5th. And that result alone isn't the most interesting part. The interesting part is how Ferrari got there. Hamilton had been running on a tire offset, meaning his tire situation was different from the cars around him. And by around lap 40, that strategy was starting to work. Hamilton had caught Leclerc, and Hamilton believed he was clearly faster. So he told Ferrari, "I'm quicker than Charles. My tires are better." From Hamilton's perspective, the decision seemed simple. If his tires were stronger and he had more pace, let him through, give him clean air, let him attack the cars ahead. But Ferrari didn't immediately make the call, and that hesitation started costing Hamilton time. Hamilton came back over the radio. "We are just losing time." Eventually Ferrari instructed Leclerc to move aside, but Leclerc didn't immediately comply. He continued for another lap before making the change. 1 lap. That might sound insignificant to someone watching the race casually. In Formula One, it can be enormous. 1 lap can completely change tire performance. 1 lap can destroy an undercut. 1 lap can turn a podium opportunity into 4th place. And once Leclerc finally moved out of Hamilton's way, we got the clearest evidence that Hamilton's original complaint wasn't just emotion. Hamilton immediately had clean air. His pace improved. He started attacking the cars ahead, and suddenly, George Russell's 3rd place looked like something Hamilton could potentially fight for. But Ferrari had already lost valuable time. Hamilton got closer to Russell. He pushed. He tried. But he couldn't complete the move, and Ferrari finished 4th and 5th. That's when Hamilton's frustration became impossible to hide. "A great way of wasting time, guys. Good job." That sarcasm said almost everything. Hamilton wasn't angry because Ferrari had a slow car. He was angry because he believed Ferrari had given him a chance to fight, then taken valuable time away from him through a decision that should have been made earlier. And the frustration didn't end there. Later in the race, Hamilton was left out on aging hard tires while cars around him were closing, and he was losing significant time. Once again, he didn't understand what Ferrari was trying to accomplish. That's when he asked, "Are you using me as a guinea pig or what?" That is the line Ferrari cannot simply ignore. Because Hamilton wasn't asking whether the tires were working, he was asking whether the team had an actual plan for his race. For a 7-time world champion, that's a serious accusation. There's something else that makes this even more interesting. Hamilton has spent most of his career working inside teams where strategy, communication, and driver management were incredibly structured. Now he's at Ferrari, a team with enormous history, a team with enormous pressure, and a team that is still trying to find the right balance between Hamilton and Leclerc. That's the real story underneath this radio drama. Ferrari doesn't simply have two drivers. It has two extremely ambitious drivers who both believe they can deliver results. And when both drivers are close together on track, the pit wall has to make difficult decisions. Who gets priority? When should the team intervene? When should one driver move aside? And when does protecting one driver's race begin to damage the others? At Zandvoort, Ferrari didn't look completely comfortable answering those questions. Mercedes provided the perfect comparison. George Russell had enjoyed an extremely strong weekend, winning the sprint and taking pole, but during the Grand Prix, Mercedes found itself in a difficult position involving Russell and Antonelli. The difference was that Mercedes made its decision decisively. The team communicated what it wanted, the drivers understood the situation, and the team avoided the kind of prolonged radio drama that Ferrari experienced. That's important, because the problem isn't simply that Ferrari made a slower decision. The bigger issue is that Ferrari appeared uncertain at exactly the moment when certainty mattered most. There's another detail that makes the situation even more uncomfortable. Hamilton wasn't the only Ferrari driver frustrated with this strategy. Leclerc also questioned decisions made during the race. That changes the story completely. If only Hamilton was unhappy, Ferrari could argue that it was simply one driver reacting emotionally to a difficult situation. But if both drivers are questioning the team's decisions, then the problem becomes bigger than driver personality. It becomes an organizational problem. Ferrari needs to know exactly how it wants to manage these situations before the next one arrives, because the next time, the consequences could be even bigger. Hamilton later sounded much calmer when speaking to the media. He didn't turn the radio incident into a massive public war with Ferrari. Instead, he acknowledged the frustration while making it clear that he still believes Ferrari can win. And one part of his message was particularly important. Hamilton said his goal was to help lead Ferrari toward a championship. That tells you where his mindset is. He's not at Ferrari simply to finish races. He's not there to collect points. He's there to win, and he believes Ferrari has the potential to do it. But if Hamilton is going to help lead this team, Ferrari has to give him something in return. It needs clarity. It needs trust. And it needs a strategy system that doesn't leave its drivers wondering what the pit wall is trying to achieve. Hamilton's championship situation makes this even more urgent. After Zandvoort, he sits third in the championship, tied on points with George Russell, and 59 points behind Kimi Antonelli. That's not an impossible gap, but it isn't small either. At this stage of the season, every unnecessary lost second matters, every missed podium matters, every strategy decision matters. And that's why Zandvoort could become more important than the fourth-place result suggests. Hamilton didn't simply lose a few points, he lost an opportunity. Ferrari had a chance to maximize the chaos of the race. Hamilton had fresh enough tires to attack. He had caught his teammate. He eventually demonstrated stronger pace once he got clear air. But the team didn't act quickly enough, and by the time Hamilton was finally free to attack, the damage had already been done. That's what makes this so frustrating. If Ferrari had simply been too slow, there would be no mystery. The team would know exactly what needed fixing, bring upgrades, improve the car, find performance. But when the pace is there and the result isn't, the problem becomes much harder, because now Ferrari has to look inward. Was the strategy too cautious? Was communication between the pit wall and drivers unclear? Did Ferrari hesitate because it didn't want to establish a clear number one? Or is the team still struggling to manage two drivers who both expect equal treatment? Those are uncomfortable questions, and Ferrari needs answers before Monza. Because Monza isn't just another race, it's Ferrari's home race. The pressure will be enormous. The Italian fans will expect Ferrari to fight at the front, Every radio message will be analyzed, every strategy call will be judged. And after Zandvoort, everyone will be watching how Ferrari manages Hamilton and Leclerc when they find themselves in the same situation again. Will Ferrari be more decisive? Will Hamilton receive priority when his pace is clearly stronger? Will Leclerc accept those decisions immediately? Or will Ferrari continue trying to keep everything perfectly equal? That's where things become complicated. Hamilton believes he can still fight for the championship. Leclerc is still mathematically in the championship fight too, so Ferrari can't simply pretend there is no conflict. At some point, the team has to decide how it wants to manage the rest of the season, and Hamilton's radio messages may have forced that conversation earlier than Ferrari expected. Because, "I'm quicker than Charles," wasn't really just about one overtake, and, "Are you using me as a guinea pig?" wasn't really just about one tire strategy. Together, those messages reveal something much bigger. Hamilton wants Ferrari to trust his judgment. He wants the team to act when he has the pace. And more importantly, he wants to know that Ferrari has a clear plan for winning. Zandvoort showed that Ferrari may have the speed, but speed isn't enough. A championship team needs execution, it needs communication, it needs decisive strategy, and above all, it needs both sides of the garage working toward the same goal. Ferrari didn't get that perfect combination in the Netherlands. They got 4th and 5th. Hamilton got frustrated. Leclerc got frustrated. And Ferrari left a potentially much bigger result on the table. Now comes Monza. The pressure is higher, the championship is still open, and Hamilton has already made his feelings clear. The next time Ferrari has to choose between protecting Leclerc's race and giving Hamilton a chance to attack, the decision may be watched more closely than ever. Because after Zandvoort, Ferrari doesn't just need to be faster, it needs to be smarter. And if Ferrari gets that part right, Hamilton's frustration could eventually become the motivation behind something much bigger. But if the same mistakes happen again, then Zandvoort won't look like one bad Sunday anymore. It will look like the moment Ferrari's biggest internal problem finally became impossible to ignore. So should Ferrari make Lewis Hamilton the clear number one for the rest of the season? Or does Charles Leclerc deserve exactly the same priority? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe for more, because Monza is going to answer a lot of questions Zandvoort only raised.